Hello everybody, welcome back to another Swift programming tutorial. In this tutorial we're going to go over how to implement FizzBuzz in code. If you're interested in learning more about FizzBuzz, we have a little blurb here from Wikipedia that explains how the game is played, and we have an example here that shows how the FizzBuzz plays out or is displayed up to about 36. FizzBuzz is a good thing to know how to implement in code because in the past it has been a common interview question. So what is the FizzBuzz challenge? Now, of course, this can vary, but in general it goes something like this. You want to go ahead and loop through 100 numbers, and if any of those numbers are multiples of 3, you want to output the message fizz. If any of those numbers are multiples of 5, you want to go ahead and output the message buzz. If any of those numbers are multiples of both 3 and 5 or 15, you want to output the message FizzBuzz. And if any of the numbers don't meet any of that criteria, you want to just go ahead and display the number by itself with no message. So a quick example before we jump into our code, if you take the number 21, it outputs the message fizz. We can see that up here in our example, fizz. And that is because it is evenly divisible by 3 7 times, or it is a multiple of 3 7 times 3. Okay, so let's go over one way that we could create some code to solve this challenge here. So the first thing we did is we created two constants, fizz and buzz. 3 is assigned to fizz and 5 is assigned to buzz. Then we go ahead and we use a for in loop and we loop through 100 numbers, and if any of those numbers are evenly divisible by fizz, which is 3, and evenly divisible by buzz, which is 5, we want to go ahead and display that number with the message FizzBuzz. Now don't worry about this code here or here too much just yet. We're going to go over an example of that here in just a second. But just know that for this first part, both of these must be true to get our message FizzBuzz. Next, using an else if any of the numbers are evenly divisible by 3, display the number with the message fizz, continuing with another else if any of the numbers are evenly divisible by 5, display the number with the message buzz, and finally, if any of those numbers don't meet any of this criteria in our if and else if statements, just display the number by itself with no message. Okay, so we said we're going to go over a specific example of how this code works here, and we have that down here. So this operator is commonly called the remainder operator, the modulus, modulo, or mod operator. Most often in Swift, it's just called the remainder operator. So how this code works is, we want to know what the remainder is of 2 going into 5. So we know that 2 goes into 5 2 times and gives us a remainder of 1. So let's go ahead and quickly comment this out, and to do that we can use command /. So when we run this, we'll just get this output here. Let's go ahead and run it. And just as we said, we get the remainder of 1. Now, if you want to test that and get a true or false, we can just say equals 0. So basically with that, we're saying, is this evenly divisible? And since we know that it is not, since it has a remainder of 1, when we run this, we should get back false. And we do, we get back false. Now, if we change this to 4, since 4 mod 2 or 4 remainder 2, 2 goes into 4 evenly, and the remainder does equal 0. When we run this, we should get back true. And we do. We get back true. Okay, let's move back up to our example and uncomment that. And you can uncomment this the same way you put the comments in with command /. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this and see what we get. Now, one of the first things you want to do when you're checking this to make sure that everything turned out correctly is to check all of the multiples of 3 and 5, or 15, and those should all be FizzBuzz. So let's go up to the top, and we can see that 15 is FizzBuzz, 30 should also be FizzBuzz, 45 is FizzBuzz, 60, 75, and 90. Okay, so that part looks good. Then you can do a quick check on the 5s, and you want to make sure that all of those have the message buzz next to them. Okay, so we have 5 buzz, 10 buzz. We skip 15 because that's a FizzBuzz. 20 is buzz, 25 is buzz, and so on. Okay, so that all looks good. Then you can do a quick check on all of the multiples of 3, and all of those should have the message fizz next to them. So we can see 3 fizz, 6 fizz, 9 fizz, 12 fizz, and so on. Okay, so that looks good. And then finally, any of the numbers that were not multiples of 3, 5, or 15 should just display the number itself. And from a quick glance, that looks good as well. Now, one last note before we finish up. Let's go ahead and comment this out here. And let's uncomment this. And we have some code here that is very similar to our example up above. Now let's go ahead and run this. And you're going to notice that you see lots of FizzBuzzes and everything looks pretty good. However, you'll notice that the 15s are not displaying the message FizzBuzz correctly. To fix this, as we showed in our earlier example, is you want to go ahead and put the test for the multiples of 3 and 5 first. Because if you don't, those multiples of 3 and 5, or 15, will not display the FizzBuzz message correctly because they have already met one of the previous criteria. And if it's down here, it will essentially be ignored, okay? That's all we have for this Swift programming tutorial. We will be doing many more Swift tutorials in the near future. Join us for those, and we'll see you next time.